right, gentlemen, are you ready for some news?
News.
Hit me with
We
it.
love the news.
All right. I got to put on my news reading specs. Here we go. There we go. All right.
Otherwise
Hey,
known as old man
Buonocore.
glasses.
Time to pay attention because we're starting off with some hot fire industry news.
Yes, we are.
Starting off with GameFound, which is one of the newer crowdfunding platforms, and they are introducing a VAT payment option for non-EU publishers. Now, this is something that I think a lot of people, maybe in the States, I'll speak for myself. I had heard VAT, I've heard the term VAT, and I know that it is something that can be potentially a tricky thing to navigate if you are dealing with crowdfunding projects. But it looks like GameFound has now set up a situation within their platform where they will kind of handle the VAT within the pledge manager. And so it sounds like this could potentially be pretty big news.
Well, actually, the news is much bigger than that.
All right, hit me with it then.
Yeah, because what
you don't know what you're talking about, Mike. Sit down. That's basically what Buonocore just said.
Nah,
I want to hear some names of people you personally know, Buonocore. Let's go.
Well, let's start with the fact this is actually very interesting news on many levels. First of all, GameFound, yes, you said it's a newer of the crowdfunding sites, but it's specifically for games, and they've been doing like kind of blockbuster after blockbuster game, really big stuff going on there. Portal Games has moved all their stuff to GameFound versus Kickstarter, and many other companies are doing them via GameFound, obviously specifically for games, though you can theoretically do any kind of crowdfunding there. The fact that they're going to be putting in a call it a VAT module is phenomenal, because it is very difficult for publishers to collect the correct VAT and pay the correct VAT. So I don't know how they're going to do it. VAT is, by the way, for anybody out there, because we didn't even say it, what is VAT? VAT means value added tax. Consider it a sales tax for people in the US. That's what we do. But every state's got a different sales tax. Every country in the EU has a different VAT.
It's a 1 hour show, Buonocore.
Yeah, right. We got to go. Come on now.
This is big. All right, but
here's
the bigger portion of what they're doing. Just before that GameFound came out with this announcement, Kickstarter came out with an announcement about that they're rebuilding their entire platform on blockchain technology. We won't even go into exactly what that is, but Bitcoin is on blockchain, yada, yada, yada. But a lot of people then believe that they were doing that to skirt some laws in the EU. Don't know if that's the case or not. And GameFound in this announcement basically makes fun of Kickstarter's announcement, saying something like, we're, all of these, our vision and plan are not some fancy, trendy buzzwords, but some down-to-earth hard work on details and tools. So kudos to GameFound for just saying, whatever, Kickstarter, we're doing it right, and we're just going to give tools to you. I'm not taking sides here. Kickstarter's been a phenomenal thing for gamers and game publishers. GameFound also doing some great stuff, but they're taking on the big boys. I mean, they're a microcosm of the size of what Kickstarter is. So kudos to them for making some interesting inroads here into the crowdfunding for gamers.
All right.
Yes.
Let's move on. Let's move on here. The Embracer Group, which is the company that just purchased Asmodee, all right, has also purchased.
That group, by the way.
That is correct.
I own
Asmodee.
I do not.
Asmodee also now owns Miniature Market. Yes.
Yes, they do. That was an unannounced thing that happened. Miniature Market is now owned by Asmodee as well.
That's correct. Okay, and this group, Embracer Group, the holding company that I believe we already talked about this in the news the last time that they purchased Asmodee. They've also purchased the Dark Horse Comics. Now, this is not strictly gaming related, but it is tangential. There are certainly some things that are going to be, potentially, moving along with this as well. So it's just interesting that this, I believe it's a Swedish company, that is now kind of getting into this market significantly. I mean, very significantly.
I'd like to think that they're now probably the largest diversified company in geek culture, right? I mean, obviously Marvel is so much bigger than this, but Marvel's got one very huge thing. These guys now, Embracer, have got all these video game studios involved with them. Comics, obviously the biggest board game company out there in hobby gaming. They're going to become a huge place for IPs and gaming in general. I think this is a very interesting development.
Yeah.
Yeah. My best takeaway from this is that Dark Horse owns Hellboy, so bring on the Hellboy board games. I know there's some, but keep them coming. Give me that Hellboy living card game. I'm in like Flynn.
Ooh, cool.
Wow. Could not be less interested in that, but that's because I'm not big on living card games. All right. Moving on, we've got Mythic Games. Again, we had some industry stuff at the beginning here. They made a partnership with a Spanish language publisher, Ingenio. 5-year agreement that they're going to distribute Mythic's games into Spain, Portugal, and Latin American markets. And so they've said that some of the first games that are coming out of this agreement into these new markets will be Super Fantasy Brawl, Six Siege, the board game, based off the Rainbow Six video game series, and Steam Watchers. And so, this company, Ingenio, is only a year old, and this is a pretty big thing. And I think, just on my end, it's more of this trend of getting hobby board games into more markets around the world, which I think is great.
Yeah.
Very happy for Mythic to be making more inroads like this. This is very good for them.
Absolutely. And speaking of Mythic, as we were, also, they've got a couple of new projects coming too, as we just mentioned, GameFound early next year. So Mythic is going on GameFound with these. These are a couple of expansions to a game called Rise of the Necromancers, which we actually played live during our Winter Spectacular. So if you have an interest, you can check out that playthrough. And so these new expansions called Dawn and Demons and Undead Sea. These are going to be coming to GameFound on January 11th. So, interesting that we've got some potentially pretty big projects coming right here.
Yeah, and this is interesting. The original publication of Rise of the Necromancers is not from Mythic. It was from this Sore Loser Games that you see there in the corner. And then Mythic, I guess, has picked up the game, I assume, and the Kickstarter then is going to have all this extra content in it. So very cool.
All right, next up is something that I know you're going to be very excited about, Zee, because I've heard that you're a massive Post Malone fan. I know that you've got the entire catalog on your iPhone here.
Oh yeah.
Magic the Gathering is teaming up with
I wear
Post
a hat
Malone.
largely to hide my forehead tattoos. Is why I wear.
Correct. Correct. It's a tribute to Post Malone. This is specifically to promote the Friday Night Magic organized play. But apparently Post Malone is a legit fan and a collector. Apparently he has, spent thousands of dollars on Magic the Gathering. And look, Magic the Gathering is a product that has, tendrils outside of just kind of modern hobby board gaming, right? This is something that it's related, but it has gone much wider. And so I think this is interesting. Now, I joke a little bit because, perhaps you and I, Zee, are not necessarily very familiar. I can speak for myself. I'm not very familiar with his music. I've heard the name, but he's a very popular musical artist. And this is an interesting tie-in with hobby gaming.
I'll do you one better, Mike. I wasn't sure he was a musician.
I saw the news and said, "Hey, Paula, do you know Post Malone?" And she looked at me like I had two heads. Like, of course I do. He's a guy with tattoos. I'm like, what is he? Singer. Oh, okay. Obviously, I'm not the demographic for this announcement. I think what Wizards does is amazing, and of course, Magic is a stellar game, and they get $1 billion almost a year in sales of this for Magic alone. I mean, crazy number. But yeah, this particular announcement for me is like, okay, well, that's interesting. I'm sure the demographic is really appreciative of this.
Yeah. I mean, they're trying different things. They're obviously not for us. That's a given. That's not, I'm not making fun of that.
No, exactly.
They know what they're doing, and they're doing something which is meant to appeal to folks that aren't necessarily already into Magic too. You know what I mean? I like Magic already. So
that's true.
And these
Absolutely.
and these kind of celebrity somewhat endorsements of geek culture, if we want to call it that, is definitely like, people are I'm seeing stuff about, Henry Cavill talking about Warhammer all over the place. So this stuff does make inroads into wider popular culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it can't be more valuable to have things like this if you want to expand your market. So yeah, it is a great idea. It just doesn't hit home with us.
Sure. All right, moving on. Something that we probably are a bit more familiar with is Gil Hova's game, The Networks. This is a game that's been out for a number of years. It is a game based off of, building your own TV network, a fun little card game. I've actually enjoyed The Networks quite a bit, and it's now getting a digital version and a digital adaptation. So perhaps, Zee, we may see this on a future episode of Apptastic. Who knows? From Wheeler Games. And so I'm looking forward to this. I like The Networks, and thinking about it with the fun artwork and everything, I think this could really work well as an app.
I'm very happy for Gil and Formal Ferret. I don't know Wheeler Games, though. Do you guys know of that digital company?
I have heard of them, yeah.
Okay.
I have not played The Networks, but I look forward to giving it a go on my iOS device.
Yeah, I think you might dig it, Zee. I think it's, card game. It's good. It's cute. It's got, again, I think it helps if you like this kind of parody comedic thing, but I think that's hard to pull off. My opinion is that The Networks did it very well.
All right, well, we'll see. Humor's not really my thing, so.
That's correct. Clearly. All right, moving on. Let's talk some Star Trek, shall we? We've got Star Trek Super Skill Pinball 4K. So Super Skill Pinball 4K is a roll and write game that has come out in the last couple of years, and now it's got a big IP here. I mean, I think this is going to be pretty exciting to Star Trek fans, and I think it also kind of makes some thematic sense because there have been Star Trek themed pinball, tables.
Absolutely.
I'm sure, right? So
many.
This is cool.
This cover, though, I really hope this is not the final cover, boy.
I'm afraid it might be, Zee. I'm afraid it might be.
I don't see why you hate the cover. It's basically showing the various
because I have
incarnations.
Eyeballs, and they work.
Oh my God. Anyway, I have a very quick, hopefully funny story about this. So Jeff Engelstein and I have got a long-term relationship. We did Space Cadets together and a number of games at Stronghold. So while I was working there, and he gave this game over to WizKids and Zev, my very good friend. I said, Jeff, I'm like a king of roll and writes. Why didn't you give me this game? I happened to be on a cruise, the Dice Tower cruise, when this all happened. Jeff Engelstein said to me, if you cruise, you lose. And I missed out on having all of the Super Skill pinball games, which are fantastic, by the way. They all are really, really good.
And
that is a pretty good story.
Ever since, right?
And I have not cruised since, amazingly enough, which is not a cause and effect.
And Zee, while I'm with you on not necessarily loving the cover, I do like that seal of excellence. That looks pretty sharp. All right, keeping in the Star Trek world, this one was very surprising to me. We've got a game called Star Trek Missions, which is basically Fantasy Realms with a Star Trek theme on top of it. I don't necessarily understand that, tie-in, but why not? Sure, if you're a fan of Star Trek. And I do like Fantasy Realms. I think that's a really, really solid, clever card game. Do I prefer this to that? I don't know, but it's an interesting idea.
I have not played Fantasy Realms, so I can't.
Fantasy Realms is a great game. I don't really care for Star Trek, I guess, but this is cool. Here's what's weird about this one, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek Missions, the font that they're using on Missions looks almost like the exact same font from the logo for the TV show Star Wars Visions. And that is weird. Star Trek Missions, Star Wars Visions, those two fonts are very similar on the second part, the non-logo part, right?
Interesting.
It's just kind of a weird observation, I guess.
Now, I do wonder if they literally took Fantasy Realms and just ported it over with new artwork and new names, or if they changed it at all, if the cards are adjusted at all. If that were the case, and I'd have to look into it more, if they have made some differences, and this is almost like the Fantasy Realms engine, but with some different cards, I might be interested in trying it just because I like the game. But
Sure.
the IP, it doesn't really excite me in this case. So look, you've got a lot of people that are Team Star Trek and some people that are Team Star Wars. Our next piece of news is about Star Wars, and
Yes.
this is Star Wars Jabba's Palace, which is a love letter game. All right, and
what
so.
now?
Yes, I know a lot of people have said, maybe even Tom. I don't know if he's made this comment before, but Love Letter has definitely gone in a lot of directions, right? There's been many versions of Love Letter. Some people might say too many, but some of those versions have made enough adjustments. I'm thinking of things like the Infinity Gauntlet and even the Batman game, where they've made little tweaks that have made it enough of a new type of a game while still keeping, some of the feel of Star Wars, of Love Letter. I'm hoping that's the case here. It does look like there's some different things, agenda cards. I'm kind of into this. I have to admit, I'm kind of into, and I'm excited about trying this one out.
I'll give it a go.
I love the Love Letter system, the original, and I really loved Batman Love Letter, even though that was an oddly named thing. I see that they barely mention Love Letter on this box. It's up there in the upper right corner, choice. Right? It's like, which is obviously an intentional choice. They're just calling it Jabba's Palace. I'm hopeful for this. I think the system is great, and you can do with a tiny little tweak, you just change the feel of the game and how it runs. So. Yeah, man. Star Wars is great. I'm a Star Trek over Star Wars fan, but both are great. I'm happy to see this.
All right.
Yeah. This is cool. I'll play this.
All right, we're moving on. We're gonna speed things up here. Mystic Vale is getting a big box. Look, it seems like this is the one of the big trends in gaming is take a popular game with expansions, throw them into a big box. This is what we got here, the Mystic Vale big box. I have to be honest with you, Mystic Vale is just not a game that ever really captured my attention that much. I know that I'm likely in the minority there, but for the people that like it, this is very popular. And for the people that like it, they maybe will like having this kind of one size fits all, put it all in the big box. It says it does not include any gameplay changes. It does have new box art, and it doesn't have all the expansions. It has Veil of Magic, Veil of the Wild, and Mana Storm. This is scheduled to release in March of next year.
All right.
Moving on, Clinic, which is a heavy game from Alban Viard, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, is coming in an all-new deluxe edition. This is something that Capstone is bringing along. If there's one thing we know about Capstone is that they have got kind of this medium to heavyweight Euro game on lock. They really know how to make a nice production, and this certainly seems to be no different there with Ian O'Toole artwork. So this is something I believe was originally kickstarted, and so now this is going to be coming to retail. Pre-order January 4th.
This is going direct to retail, not a Kickstarter game.
Correct. Yeah, it was already kickstarted, but if you missed out on that and now you're interested, you can get it retail pre-ordering on January 4th.
The Ian O'Toole art itself will sell the game.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, Uwe Rosenberg, right? You heard of him? Exactly. Uwe Rosenberg, I'm starting to feel is channeling a little bit of Reiner Knizia in that he's taking mechanisms and building 17, 18 different games off of particular mechanisms, just kind of slight re-implementations of earlier games. So we've got a game called Framework, and we're going to have a few games here coming from Pegasus Spiele, and so this is one of those, and they're saying this has some similarities to Nova Luna, which was a 2019 Spiel nominated game. There was another game called, what was the other game based off of Nova Luna, Z, do you remember offhand?
Gosh.
There was another one, Sagani, I think it was called.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
Yep.
That's it.
And then so here's another one, Framework, that's kind of got it's a tile laying game. I have to tell you, I don't love the cover at all. I feel like it's like, let's lean into the ochres and oranges. It doesn't really do a lot for me, but the gameplay might be nice.
It looks so plain, unfortunately.
It does.
Yeah. I don't know. And when I first saw it, I'm like, is this another patchwork?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. That's the first thing that came to my mind. It looked like it was like Patchwork, but but Patchwork is obviously not like Nova Luna. So, and that system is pretty.
I don't think I would have called it. I wouldn't have called it blank work. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Something.
Especially,
Absolutely.
for a game with tiles. And I mean, I know it's not Tetrominoes, but it can be a little confusing. So, all right. So from a game that we think has a pretty plain cover to a game that I think has a very vibrant cover, also coming from Pegasus Spiele, we've got Animotion. And this is a re-implementation of a game that's not that old from Natalie Gramperin and Bruno Faiduti that Gigamic originally put out. It was called Animal Suspect originally, and now it's being re-implemented as Animotion. So it's, again, still an animal kind of themed game. 3 to 8 players, which I think, I don't know if Bruno Faiduti will design a game that has less than 3 players. So I like the look of the cover.
He's got a few, but they're very, very rare. Yeah, his games are generally party style, big interactive things. I never did play Animal Suspect. I think it was a really hard game to get.
Gotcha.
So it's nice to see, ideally, something that will be more easily available. But again, I don't know the game. I have not played it. I just know Animal Suspect was very hard to find.
This is a pretty and vibrant cover, as you said.
Yeah, I agree. It's due out in March, Z. So maybe we'll get a chance to take a look at it.
All right.
And then finally, from Pegasus Spiele, it's not the last of the news, but the last from Pegasus Spiele, a first-time designer bringing us a game called Fife. I'm going to hope that's how I pronounce it. The designer's name is Kosch. Kosch, due out Q2 in English, a little bit earlier in German. Looks to me to be a abstract game, but I really think it's beautiful looking. I like the back of box cover where it kind of is giving me this almost of a meadow vibe where you're putting these little surfboards, it looks like, to maybe draw tiles from a particular place in a central grid. I like the look of it.
Yeah, I really like the look of this. It makes me think of some of Bruno Catala's grid games, right? He's got a bunch of those. Mm-hmm. It kind of looks, it looks very interesting. This is one that I've definitely got my eye on. This seems like the kind of thing that's going to be my speed. So
I want to play this on the beach. I want to take my game and put it right there on the beach, like the back of that box, and put it right in the sand. No, I probably will not do that. But yeah, it is very pretty looking.
You cruise, you lose. All right. Next up, we've got from Eagle Griffin Games a game called Bot Factory, which is a reworking of a Kanban, a Vital Lacerda game. And so this is something similar to what has happened recently. There was a game called Mercado de Lisboa that came out last year, which was a very small, short game that was based off of one part of a larger game called Lisboa. And so it looks like they're doing something similar here, where they're taking this big, heavy Euro Kanban and creating a much smaller game based off of it. So I bounced pretty hard off of Mercado de Lisboa, to be honest with you, but I like the cover of this. I hope it really is light. We'll see.
Yeah. I like it. It looks neat. I'll definitely give it a try. Yeah, I feel the same way you did about Mercado, but I'll keep trying.
It seems like Lacerda's games, when he distills them down, don't get the same reception as his bigger games. But I think that idea though of having lighter games based on the bigger games in many of those is a good idea in general.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, our last piece of news, and something that I put at the end because I'm very, very excited about this. This is a new version of one of, I think, the best games out there, and that is Ra by Reiner Knizia. It is being republished by 25th Century Games, and we mentioned Ian O'Toole before, fantastic artist illustrator, and he's going to be doing the artwork for this, and I love, love, love this cover. I'm really excited about this. I like Ra a lot. I've played it many, many times, but I've never owned it. I think this is going to be the first version of Ra that I own.
Wow. You've never owned Ra before.
I've always had friends that have had it, so I've never needed to own it. And now here we've got it in the library. So
you've always had acquaintances that had it. Let's
that's fair enough. Fair enough.
Ra is a classic, wonderful game. And this is a very interesting classic take on Egyptian art that Ian has put right there. So yeah, this is a win. Ra is a great game. It's a great game.
Yeah. Fantastic game. Great illustrator. 25th Century Games are doing very neat stuff. They are a publisher to watch, in my opinion. I think they're doing great work. So this is looking real good. I just might have to reacquire Ra when this comes out. Because I, unlike some people, have owned Ra in the past.
Tell you what, Zee, we'll bid on it. We'll see who gets it first. All right. Well, that is the news for today. We've got one more block of contributors, so stick around and check those out, and then we'll be back here to see you off.